Morning, everyone. I'm Tathagat here. I took a morning red-eye flight to be here, so I'm happy to be here again in NCR. And I want to share something about what I think of Agile Manifesto for the new digital world. The reason why thanks for introducing me. In fact, as of yesterday, I have left ChinaSoft. I'll be joining a new company on Monday. So just to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency, that and that's the reason I have not put the name here. But yeah, that's and thanks Ajay for accommodating me. I was supposed to come here yesterday, but yesterday was my relieving day, so I could not have been absent on the relieving day, right? So yeah, that's about it. So I don't know what's happening here, but it keeps flickering. I hope okay, I think we'll keep going ahead. So how many people here have heard or work in something to do with digital? Can you please show a show of hand? So I am seeing about 60-65% hands here, right? I'm assuming it's an Agile conference. Everyone is aware of Agile Manifesto, right? What I'm going to talk about in the next half an hour could be damaging to your understanding of Agile Manifesto. So the disclaimers first. We are all familiar with Agile Manifesto, right? You can say yes. I'm not going to ask you to repeat any of the values here. But it's been 18 years, it's been around, but I think, to me, I have a very interesting question to all of you, right? And this is the question here, which is, what are the most overlooked words in Agile Manifesto? Anyone wants to take a shot? Comprehensive documentation. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
The ones on the top and the bottom.
What's that? On the bottom, there's value in the items on the right.
Both the top and the bottom. We are
okay,
covering
top and the bottom. Okay, fair enough. Anyone else? Customer collaboration. Okay. Responding to changes. Okay. All the right answers. My right answer is this. To me, everything else is secondary or tertiary. The primary thing is we are talking about software development here. That's the most important thing to remember, right? Because if there is no software development, Agile Manifesto has no use. So let's go and understand and see, and then I want to unpack each of these 4 values that we talk about in the context of what's happening today, right? So that we can understand and interpret that again there. So let's start with individuals and interactions, right? Now, individuals and interactions is often a very interesting term here, because obviously we human beings, it is a part of our biological evolution that we need face-to-face communication. Do you all agree with that? Right? How many people here, and of course, by any means I'm not saying that we are a native speaker of English, but how many people here routinely deal with non-native speakers of English in their work? It's about 25%. How many of those 25% believe that you can actually have a face-to-face communication with the non-native speakers of English? Less than 3 or 5 hands go up. And I'm sure those who are not working with them probably they are missing the context. So long back, in 2002, I lived in China for a year. I had a large team of 200 engineers, 80 engineers were Chinese, and 110 were Indians. I would have 2-hour meetings where we would have a face-to-face communication, or at least it gave the illusion that we were having a face-to-face communication. And not a single word would get exchanged. And then the same non-native speakers of English would go back to their desktop and they would create colorful emails, colorful not in a negative way, but then really, I mean, it's like the Shashi Tharoor kind of English, right? You would have to go back to your Oxford dictionary to understand, hey, what was that word? And I was like, I could never understand for the life of me what was happening there, till I realized that they had a wonderful dictionary that would help them to do the translation. So much for face-to-face communication. We believe that the world is made up of people who think like us, dress like us, walk like us, talk like us. But in an increasingly multicultural, multilinguistic, multi-everything world, a lot of those mental models need to be examined. Because they have been given with a certain assumption of the world that is frozen in time. The world doesn't care about your snapshot. The world keeps moving, right? And that's what we need to understand here, what is changing here. So from my point of view, individuals and interaction is a very, very overrated thing. And I think we need to unpack that and understand that, right? Of course, this is how we men communicate. That's why you are all looking to the right. So it's like if I tilt my head up, it means hi. If I tilt my head down, that means thank you. If I head to the right, look at this. Head to the left, come, let's have a talk. Is that how most men talk? I just picked it up on the net there, right? So we talk about T-shaped individuals, right? Do all believe in that? We talk about, okay, I heard one no, so that's good, thank you. But we talk about Scrum, we talk about generalizing specialists, we talk about T-shaped individual, everything, right? And we believe that that's the best thing to happen there. I know you are all thinking there has to be some catch in this, that's why nobody is willing to commit on this, right? My point of view is T-shaped individual is dead. And what is going to replace and make it more effective, and I will substantiate that with my perspectives in the next half an hour, is what I call as a plus-shaped individual. And a plus-shaped individual to me is something who is not just busy coding, busy testing, but is somebody who really understands and can navigate the whole maze inside an organization, because an organization is bigger than a software team. Do we all agree with that? An organization has a much bigger purpose than that. Software is only a minuscule part of that, right? So we need to understand, if you cannot connect with the bigger purpose of why business is undertaken in the first place, I don't think a lot of us are going to survive there. If you see majority, 70, 80, 90% of the businesses in most of the Western world are micro enterprises, mini enterprises. These are companies with less than 5 to 10 employees. How do you think those 5 to 10 employees are able to do if they box themselves and say, I'm a software guy, I don't care. So the same analogy, same metaphor that we have used in the past and say, I'm a front-end engineer, I'm a back-end engineer. Well, you know what? If you're an engineer, you are dead. If you don't know how to make money, if you don't know why customers are, when I do a lot of mentoring for startups with various accelerators and incubators like Google Launchpad and bunch of others, Numa and all. And I ask the same question to everybody. And 80% of the startup entrepreneurs do not really answer that with a conviction in their eyes. And that question is, why do people buy your product? Who buys your product? And in the age of B2C, it's very difficult to even characterize and typify who are the customers there. And I have seen a lot of people who are selling their software, they have no clue why people are using their software, why they are buying it in the first place, right? So unless you understand how value is created, unless you understand why people are buying your software, I don't think we have a right to survive as a software engineer alone. The time is coming when, as a business, nobody cares about how good a Python programmer you are. The world cares about how good money can you make. That's the core of it. Because software is becoming so mainstream that we cannot live in an ivory tower anymore, right? Okay, how many people love here open offices? 1, 2, 3, 4, I think less than 10 hands going up. I know, because open offices have their own stuff, right? Because like this, right? Please keep talking on your personal phone in an open office setting. I'm dying to know what you had for lunch. Have people been in this situation? Right? I mean, at some point in time, I know exactly whose girlfriend or boyfriend or mother-in-law or daughter-in-law or whatever is happening there, right? So yes, a lot of times people think, because whenever I talk about people saying agile transformation, the first thing they are doing is, oh, we are creating open offices. So we are making sure that people are kind of, okay, collaboration has that warm and fuzzy feeling about it, right? So people can sit together and do that thing. And a lot of anecdotal and emotional data in the past has told that open offices are great for agile. But recently I was reading a very interesting blog by one of the Harvard Business School professors. It came as a podcast on Freakonomics. And they gave a very interesting perspective. He actually talked about the fact that face-to-face communication decreased by about 70% in both of our 2 studies. So they did 2 studies on Fortune 500 companies. They didn't name them, because obviously for privacy reasons, But they found that face-to-face communication that we are so passionate and we love, it decreased by 70% when people moved from cubicles to open space. And what happened was they actually started using more of IM and email and so on, which we know is a context-rich. It's not that context-rich anymore, right? So it actually is the whole thesis around, oh, we should have agile spaces and all that is actually antithesis to what we are trying to achieve in the first place. And yet we are so ignorant about it that we foolishly fall in love with open offices actually, right? So there is enough data there. I've given all the references. You are free to examine it and see. Co-location. We love co-location, right? It's a very agile thingy thing. Oh, co-location. Yeah, we should have people on the same floor, same thing, on the same. Yeah, obviously, it makes sense to do that. But let's just examine it again for a moment there. So there's an interesting buffer which did actually a state of remote work survey. This is the first survey they did for remote work this year. Now guess what? How many people here work remote all the time? One hand. Okay. This is the state of industry. 70% people are working remote 100% of the time. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer that it is possible that there is a self-selection bias in this survey. Because obviously, if this room gets a survey, a lot of people are not going to even give that thing because you are not working on that. So it's likely that they have a self-selection bias in this. But 70% of the people are saying they're working remote 100% of the time. Incidentally, if you go and in this link and check it out, majority of the people were from software. So this is how the world is changing. And as if this is not enough, they asked them how many people foresee working remote for rest of their lives. And this was the number they got, 90% of the people. So what is the co-location thingy we are talking about here? You guys might be frozen in time. The coming generation doesn't care about your perspectives. The coming generation has already decided that this is what they want to do. So you better change yourself because they are not going to change it. The tools, technology, the social context is all supporting that kind of a thing there, right? The economics of remote work is much more compelling than what it was. How many, I mean, I was talking to Neeraj in the morning and I was, in some sense, he said he takes 2 hours commute every morning and I was feeling lucky that in Bangalore I only take 1 hour 15 minutes. Right? And then you take a prime real estate and you know what? It's exactly like the pricing of Starbucks or a pricing of Cafe Coffee Day. If you look at the way Cafe Coffee Day prices their coffee, he is clear about how much money he is going to make on every cup of coffee. But the prices of Cafe Coffee Day is changing depending on which real estate they are in. Because majority of the money you are paying is for the real estate. So you know what? It's possible that your customers are not really paying you money. They are paying money to the real estate guy. Why do you want to do that? You start working directly, you have the cost savings on that. So this is, I mean, if you really, so remove your rose-tinted agile glasses for a moment and just see it from the bigger world and see how the world really moves. And then you will be able to appreciate this. Okay, so we said individuals and interactions over process and tools, right? So no process, no tools, right? Now let's see what is happening in the real world. From 2016 to 2017, the tests that run automatically at each commit, the number keeps going up. In almost 30% of the cases, it is fully done, right? In other cases, it is happening, slowly growing. In case of continuous integration, the percentage is almost about 30% of the companies are using fully CI there. In case of continuous delivery, the number is not so much because still have, but improvement year on year is still visible here. In case of automated deployments, the number is going up. In fact, less than 10% are probably not doing it at all. So where is the individuals and interactions in that? It seems to be that we are fully going on a process and tool thingy, right? Because that's the way the software development is actually going. So what kind of an agile value are we talking about when we say individuals and interactions over process and tools, right? So I think it's important to understand this. Okay, so testing is gone, build is gone, deployment is gone, but I can still fix bugs, right? After all, you need a human brain to fix bugs. Do you all agree with that? I think by now you guys know that there is a catch in every slide. So nobody wants to say anything. This is a very interesting paper that came out of MIT 2 years back. automated bug fixing. These guys have actually developed software which does automatic bug fixing. Sorry, Indian guys, your jobs are about to go away. Right? We cannot fix the bugs of the world anymore. Smart systems are coming. Watson came and started, it now can start diagnosing things, right? Same way, I think it's only a matter of time when bug fixing as a service becomes a new model available there. In fact, if you read this paper, it's very, very informational and enlightening. If you see the bullet, large applications, unlike many previous patch generation systems which work with small programs with hundreds of lines of code, Prophet, which is the system they created, it generates correct patches for large real-world applications with tens of thousands to 1 million lines of code or more. Probably 80–90% of the world software would come into that category. So we are already seeing that it is 2 years back, these systems have already been there, which are starting to do this kind of a thing. All right, what is this? Can you see? I know it's visible, not visible from far away, but there is a piece of software here. Guess what? In 2015, Andrei Karpathy, now director of AI at Tesla and a Stanford computer science PhD student, used recurrent neural networks to generate code. He took a Linux repository, combined it in one giant database. It was more than 400 MB of code, and trained the RN and the recurrent neural network with this code. He left it running for the night. In the morning, he got this code. It was not created by a human being. It was created by an AI. In fact, if you go to Bayou, you can create your own, you can train on, I think it is askbayou.com or something. You can actually do it right now. You can ask the AI to create code for you. Now, it might look simple to you at this point in time, but it's beginning to get there, right? An AI that writes code, on Apple Store, it may not even show up actually if it doesn't really follow that high standards of what they're looking at. And yet, from people's point of view, it is meaningless. So this is the real statistics here used. Now let's talk about paid. How many people here have paid for a software on their mobile phones? Less than 5 hands go up, right? And this is the statistics. 94% of data in Q1 of this year was people use it free. I mean, this is not a public charity service, right? End of the day, if you don't make money out of the software you write, how the hell do you think you are going to even sustain that? Software has to make money. Working software is not enough there. It might be good for you, it might be good for your career, it might be good for your resume, it might be good for your appraisal. But for your business, it will not sustain, right? At some point in time, you need to make money there. So this is on Android, incidentally. So this data is not from Apple, this is Android. Now we talk about performance, right? We say performance is a non-functional requirement. I think this is the biggest fallacy. In today's world, performance is a functional requirement. And I'll show you the data to tell why it is so. As the page load time goes from 1 second to 3 seconds, probability of bounce increases 32%. Bounce is when you come to the landing page, but then you don't really navigate and you are just going back, right? If it is 1 to 5 seconds, probability goes 90%. If it is 1 to 10 seconds, probability bounce increases 123%. I mean, people are not even looking at your website. If you are an Amazon, if you are a Google, if you are a Facebook, this is death. You don't want to do that. Working software, it is working. Code review done. Code coverage done, technical debt taken care of, everything is done there. But the software is an antique piece in the museum if this happens. Does that make sense? Right? Time is real money. If you have a website that makes $100,000 a day, and if you are able to increase, if you are able to have a 1 second improvement in page speed, you're talking about $2 million every year. If you can have 3 second improvement, you're talking about $7.6 billion every year. That is how it translates into real dollars. A working software never talks about this. In today's world, when you are talking about always on real-time software available around the globe, these numbers, these performance requirements become key, because it doesn't matter if it is a working software or not. And it's a real business. A 1 second delay in page load time leads to 16% decrease in customer satisfaction. If customers are not coming to your website, your business is dead. It doesn't matter if you have the most shiny software in the world, right? Non-working software. Okay, so I have a question for you. How many times have you guys gone on any of the online sites, Amazon, Jabong, Myntra, Make My Trip, Expedia, whatever is there? You have loaded stuff on a shopping cart, and then at the checkout time, you decided to abandon the cart. How many people do that? Wow, it seems like this data was created for you guys. 75% is the average in industry. 75% cart abandonment. If the business doesn't happen, how will the business survive? What is the use of that shiny piece of working software if it doesn't drive the business? So features are not a driver of value. I've been talking about it for the last 5-7 years. Lines of code is not a driver of value anymore in today's world. We need to understand that the center of gravity has shifted. The value drivers are something else, and this is one of them. Unsafe software. 2 days back, Marriott had the biggest hack. 500 million passport numbers, email IDs, phone numbers were stolen, right? So it's working software. Obviously, you are using it for things, but then what is the use of that working software if it cannot keep the data safe? So is that driving the value? Or it's going to sink the whole company down, right? So we need to understand what is working software, what is the meaning of working software in today's world. Don't fall in love blindly with just those feature backlog and say, okay, this is what is working software. To me, working software, features is only 1% of it. It's much bigger than that. Performance, safety, security, bunch of stuff there, right? And what about revenues finally? If you cannot drive revenues, what is the meaning of having that software? Look at this data. This is the Facebook data. In last 3 years, their average revenue per daily user has gone up from $16 to $34. Is that the metric that any of you guys can talk about to your business leader? For goodness sake, don't talk about velocity and technical debt to your P&L guy. Your P&L guy doesn't care about velocity. Your P&L guy is worried about these numbers. That is agility to them, not technical debt, not code coverage, right? Does your software drive business? This is click-through rates. You see the ads on that. Most of us, 98% of us know how to, I mean, Rajiv was there, we were at Yahoo, right? The biggest bane of a company like Yahoo is like, nobody clicks on those links. And if nobody clicks on that, we don't make money. We go home, that's it. So if you see here, this is an agile software. Because over a period of just 2 years, they have taken the CTR from 1% to 3%. That is agility. They are changing the behavior of software to adapt in a situation where they can drive business. If you ask them what is velocity, you are asking a very foolish question to them, right? What is important for the business? And unit economics. Finally, a unit economics is an important part of it. How much does it cost for you to make a sale of $1? Does it cost you less than $1, or does it cost you more than $1? And that's going to determine how long you will stay in the game. Look at Flipkart data. I've just picked up randomly. Flipkart does a revenue of 19,000 crore and their losses are mounting. Now, as long as you have a VC money, it's very sexy story. Because you can keep burning money, you can keep burning a deeper hole in that. But the moment the funding dries up, that's where your real horsepower is coming into play. Does your software really help you to make a better unit economics? Are you actually making money out of it? Now I understand, yes, if you look at PayPal, if you look at Amazon, it has taken them 10 years to 15 years to become profitable. That's how the software platform today is. It takes time to really set up the whole thing. But at some point in time, somebody will start asking that questions. So it's not enough for me, from my point of view, it's not enough if you say, okay, we have implemented all these features. You can implement all the features, but end of the day, if this is the state of business, you will melt down. Because VCs are not devtas. VCs also need money back, right? 90% of the startups fail. So that 10% that succeed, they have to make up for that investment, and they have to show at least better than a hurdle rate, which could be 12%, 13%. So you can imagine they are expecting like a 7 times or 8 times return on investment. With these economics, can you even give that kind of a thing there? So it's important to understand that we have to start moving away from the whole trap of features alone here. Okay, third one, customer collaboration. Anyone knows what is this picture? Right, it's obviously from the matrix. And I have taken this because I think it's a very representative, very important, very shockingly true picture of your customers. How many people here work in B2C? Anyone? I see 2 or 3 hands there. Even if you are working in a B2B, how many times do you actually get to see? Maybe this is your customer here. A customer, because when you are talking about this kind of a scale, well, I understand not all of us are Facebook and WhatsApp here. But then if you are talking about 2 billion customers, 2 billion users, where do you think is your customer? Do you even know who is your customer? When I was at Yahoo, we had 700 million customers. Like, how do you even know? 700 million people. I mean, if you are a family of 4, can they even agree on what kind of food to get tonight? If you are a group of 7 friends and want to go for a pub, you can never agree on which pub to go to. And we are talking about the whole simplistic assumption that, oh, you talk to customers and then you say, okay, what is my backlog, what are the stories and what have you. I mean, come on, whom are we kidding? We are living in a world which is a very massively aggregated world. We need to learn how to basically glean the data of this kind of a thing. And that's the reason why my data is going to look like this. This is my customer. My customer is not a human being anymore. Trust me. My customer is a data point. If I don't learn how to understand and cull out insight from the data, there is no way I'm going to be able to understand what they are looking for. And when they vote out of feet, why are they voting with their feet? When the cart abandonment happened, 75%, this is the only data that you have available. You don't know even their name. I mean, you have an aggregate of saying X percentage people are between the age of 21 to 37, Y percentage of people live in Noida, X percentage live in NCR, and what have you. Other than that, what do you know about them? So are you going to like sit across the table and say, okay, let's do collaboration, let's collaborate. Okay, I have a meeting set up at 9 o'clock, it's a collaboration meeting. I mean, come on. Right? How do you collaborate with that? Yes, now I understand this might be a world which not all of us are working in. A lot of software is still B2B happening there. But increasingly, that's what is happening. Right? So where is your customer? To me, customer is a data. Customer is in the aggregate. It's a data lake, for example. You have 5 terabytes of data that says this is your customer of last 1 week. You figure and deal with that. Right? And is collaboration even the right business strategy? So we talk about collaborating with the customer. Right? Is collaboration even the right business strategy here? How many people here work for IT services company? So roughly about 15% here, right? We typically see in our business 2 types of contracts, time and material and fixed price, right? I mean, most of the time there, or some variant of that. We might say there is a fixed price with incentive, with fixed price with penalty and so on. A lot of times we believe that agile contracts they lend themselves better to the whole T&M way of doing it, right? Time and material, because then the whole collaboration thing can work out and so on. So it's very likely that intuitively, my gut feel is that most of the people would prefer to get a time and material way of doing things, even if you are a customer. Is that right? That's how you would normally do it. Now look at this data for 4 of the big IT services companies, Wipro, Infosys, Mindtree, and Cognizant. Between 2016 to 2017, on an average, the number of fixed price contracts went up 5% in each of these companies. They all want to be agile, don't get me wrong. Their customers want to become more agile. But they don't see eye to eye with our definition of what is an agile contract. The reality that drives the business is 5% increase in a number of fixed price projects in each of these companies in just 1 year alone. And it's the same world, the same VUCA world that we keep talking about. We don't know how it is going to be, so let's collaborate. Well, you know what? These are hedging the bets. These customers and the companies are hedging their bets against a VUCA world by actually locking down in a fixed price contract. So the world is really different from what we think it is. Okay, last one, responding to change. I mean, responding to change is again one of those things that okay, wow, okay, let's respond to the change. Okay. right? And this is my favorite one. I'm sure many of you would have seen this movie, The Office Space, right? I think it's the best satire on IT industry, where this boss keeps coming and asking them to fill the timesheet kind of a thing, right? So let's understand. Before that, how many of you can randomly people name what are the products or services that the most admire that have come about in the last 5-7 years or so? Anything that comes to your mind? Uber, Swiggy, what's that? WhatsApp. Anyone else? Big Basket, Uber Maps, Paytm, right? These are the usual suspects there. Now, I have a question to all of you, which is how many of them were really response to a change versus how many of them were initiating a change? Was any of them really responding to a change in the way we would mentally construct the whole meaning of responding to a change? I'm sitting here, I'm happy, I'm in a status quo, some change happens and then I'm responding to that. Was Paytm like that? Was Uber like that? Okay, that's your perspective. From my point of view, the most valuable startups have really disrupted. When you look at Clayton Christensen's definition of disruptive innovation, it is not a linear extension of the life. We think it is a linear extension of it. We take a very simplistic assumption about the whole thing that it's an incremental innovation. It is not an incremental innovation. It's a disruptive innovation in most cases. Uber, Xiaomi, Airbnb, Palantir, Snapchat, WeWork, these Flipkart, these are all, yes, you can say that they look like something that existed there, but they have really initiated a lot of things as a change and not really responded to a change. Netflix is a great example of that. When Blockbuster was doing the whole video rental model, Netflix had the opportunity, and they used to have those deliver by date kind of a thing, otherwise you pay penalties for that. They disrupted the whole thing. They didn't respond to a change. In fact, in most of the cases, you will find that the market leaders, the Blockbusters of the world, the Kodaks of the world, the MySpaces of the world, did not respond to the change, and that's why they died. But in almost all the cases, you will find that those who really became the leader are not even simply responding to the change, they are creating a change. So I want to challenge that hypothesis of even response to a change. We are living in a world where response to a change looks like a very laid-back approach. Oh, I'm sitting here in my hammock and I'm sipping my beer. Oh, okay, there's a ring. Okay, what happened? A change has come. Okay, come on, guys, let's have a meeting there. Let's discuss how do we respond to that change. It gives a very passive feel to me. Initiating a change is something dramatically different, right? So that's what I feel. The real value is in the world is being created by people who are really turning it on its head and questioning these mental models. So let's briefly see what is really happening in today's digital world, right, which is really making these kind of changes here. If you look, the digital change is accelerated. It's not even like the old change. I mean, within just few years, these percentages have gone up, whether it is internet adoption, whether it is broadband at home. You know what is the biggest driver of broadband in the global world today? 36% of the global broadband traffic is from Netflix. Who would have thought 5 years back? And Netflix is just 5 million people here in India, actually. Imagine what will happen if it really explodes, kind of a thing, right? So this is the way the adoption is changing there. If you look at the digital markets, everywhere, one after other, we are seeing that markets are changing from offline to online. Some people call it that they are getting Amazon, right? Anything that Amazon touches, that industry is dead. That kind of a thing. That's the market monopoly they have created. But the whole thing is we need to understand is that is the digital platforms that a company has been able to create, and it is able to systematically annihilate those physical models. If you look at digital products, take any category, the projections are by 2021, if you see, all the projections are that this digital is just going to grow. It's not going to come back. If you look at the infrastructure, 5G is not come, right? But 5G comes, that's the kind of infrastructure we are talking about. We are talking about 1000x mobile data volumes. We're talking about 10 to 100x connected devices. That is the pace at which it's going to change the game for all of us. So what you have seen until now is nothing. What you are about to see in the coming years is going to be an accelerated and expanded version of that. I'll just need another 5 minutes. This is what happens in an internet minute. I'm sure many of you have seen this thing, right? There's a huge amount of volume of data content that's being created at the speed at which it's coming there. And the scale is going to grow up. When we have 50 billion IoT devices, imagine with all this kind of a thing happening there, that is a digital world that we are going to live in. The digital work is changing there. In fact, 70% of the freelancers say their chances of getting work online has increased. So people are actually looking for work online more and more. And the gig economy is growing. And in fact, very interestingly, digital workers are not you and I. They are leaving companies. These are leaving some of the biggest companies in the world within 1 to 2 years. So we talk about, we say stable teams and all that, team culture takes time. You know what, at Uber an average tenure of an employee is 1.23 years. I'm sure the first 1 month goes into onboarding, the last 1 month goes into deboarding. You have just 1 year. I mean, how much of team culture are you going to create in that, right? So much for individuals and interactions, so much for culture, so much for everything there. But this is the real data here. So obviously we need to understand and build our process around this, this behavior. We cannot say that this behavior doesn't exist. We cannot be like an ostrich dipping the head in the sand. Digital gig workers is increasing. The gig economy is gradually increasing, right? So I mean, this might, a lot of it is US data just because US has better data that's published there, but this number is increasing. It may be very minuscule in India today. I was a gig worker for 3 years when I did my own consulting as a solopreneur. And I haven't seen a lot of uptick in those numbers in India there, but I think this is really a very interesting thing happening there. With all the visa restrictions, trade restrictions, people are going to do cross-border trade on just the internet. They don't even need to travel there, right? So that's the kind of a world that's changing. So digital impact, I think it's just going to be very interesting here because, so I have a question to all of us Agile practitioners there. How much of work that we do as a result of using Agile in some shape or form, Scrum, Lean, Kanban, Safe, DAD, whatever, how much percentage improvement in top line or bottom line do you think we are driving with that? Anyone who says 10% or more, raise their hand. I see one hand going up. It is to the business I'm talking about. The business top line to the bottom line. I don't care about code quality, I don't care about it. End of the day, if your business top line, the money that your company makes, or the profits, if it is not changing there, then that Agile to me is not there. So one hand goes up for more than 10%. 2 hands, 3 hands. 3 hands out of about 150 people here, right? That is the bane of Agile today. You guys yourself know that we ourselves are not driving the real business, right? And if you really look at digital transformation, the companies that simply go, I mean, I would put Agile here because it's like 10%, it's not even 100%. The companies that go for digital sales and marketing give a 2x ROI. The companies that talk about digital products and challenges go to 5x ROI. And the companies that go for complete digital business models are talking about 10x plus ROI. So if, in fact, I would even question 10%. Let me be very honest. I don't want to put anyone in a spot because once I reviewed the S&P 500 index, these are the biggest 500 companies on the globe listed on New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. Do you know what is the average profit margin of those companies? These are the biggest 500. What's that? 8%, it's about 12%. So all the marketing brochure of Scrum and Agile that talks about 10,000% improvement in productivity and 5,000% of improvement thing is all bullshit. The reality is even the biggest companies in the world only make 10% profit, right? So don't trust the snake oil. Believe in your own data and understand what you are driving. Why are we there in the first place, right? Why is the customer paying us salary? Why are they buying us lunch? That's an important question to ask. So, disruption is increasing. The average age of S&P companies used to be 33 years. Now it is down to, it's projection to be 14 years. The biggest 500 is not an insurance against obsolescence. That is the reality. What is the implication for agility? I'm down to my last 3 slides now. So what is the implication for agility here? First thing to me is most important is Agile is not agile anymore. Or at least it is not agile enough anymore. Yes, it looks nice, it's a good thing to have, it's a piece of architecture, it's a piece of archaeology for us, it's good. But to me, in this world, that is, if you want to build your business, go ahead and do that. I would not do that. It's a good guidepost. It tells me something, but then I would not really go blindly and believe in that. Infra, tech, and AI enable remote work, automation, and even programming in the future. And in case you are wondering that I'm talking about a science fiction kind of a thing, how many people here learned about chatbots or machine learning just as recent as 5 years back? About 10, 12 hands go up. Within 5 years, it has gone from being a very, very novel thing to a mainstream technology today. That is the pace at which advancements are happening today. In fact, 20 years back when I was doing my master's in India, I worked on machine learning using fuzzy logic. My roommate worked on neural networks. I'm talking about back in 89, 90 days. And I came out and started working as a scientist, and I almost thought, oh, that was only interesting enough to work in my master's, but there was no market for it. And for the last 25, 27 years, we never saw anything happening. But now suddenly you see a situation where you can go and you can actually create chatbots without even writing a single line of code. It has gone so much mainstream now, right? So I believe that what looks like science fiction, what I showed you earlier, I think it's only a matter of time. Computing power is not a limiter anymore. Algorithms are really getting faster. The whole crowdsourcing has changed the way things are happening there. So it could be in our lifetime that we'll actually start seeing that it's going to have impact. Working software to me doesn't mean only features that it is working in a very true sense. To me, it means customers buy, use, renew, and even refer it. You're deriving revenue out of the whole thing there. If you are not gauging those statistics, don't even call it working software, right? It's like it's in the aisle, it's there on the shelf. If it is not sold, it is not working. If it is not used, it's not working, right? Actionable insight from customer data constitutes collaboration. So yes, collaboration is a good thing. I'm totally for it. But please understand, when you are talking about, even if you are talking about 10,000 users, even if you are talking about 50,000 users, you don't know all of them. You don't know what kind of customer, what do they prefer. And even if magically you were able to do that, how are you going to cull out something meaningful by talking to 10,000 people, assuming that it's physically possible to do that? You will have to create some data models to really sift through the data and say, well, this is what is my customer all about there, right? So you have to go and understand how your data is pointing at the reality, because that's the closest to what you have. Digital leaders don't just believe in, but they thrive by initiating changes. Please understand, the real leaders, the most successful companies, I mean, if you want to believe that responding to change is good enough, it's perfectly okay if you want to build a career working for companies that are going to build unsexy products that don't really matter. But if you want to really be at the bleeding edge of change, and you want to really do something in the life where you are like, okay, I really feel happy that I have created this disruption in the world, you are probably going to be doing a lot of initiating change kind of thing. So I'm not saying that this is the only thing that will happen there, but the most interesting work will happen in areas that are initiating change rather than responding to change, right? And possibly Agile Manifesto is still necessary, all said and done, but clearly not sufficient. So if you are saying that, oh, this is what Agile Manifesto says, that's all I will do, good luck. Because to me, it doesn't make sense. There are more things than that, right? So what is the context for Agility Manifesto in the new digital world? If I have to summarize my points here, the first thing to me is customer is the sole purpose. We need to understand that we exist to solve a customer's pain point. And writing software is only incidental part of it. Don't treat it like a religion. Treat it like a business necessity. Tomorrow, somebody else could be writing that software. Day after tomorrow, a machine could be writing that software, right? Just the way it happened in US and Europe. It was somebody who was writing the software in US or Europe, and then suddenly somebody moved the cheese and that software was written by somebody in India. And day after tomorrow, even that software will be written by a machine there. It's just a natural evolution. It's just going to happen there. But we need to understand, why are we there? The sole purpose is really solving the customer's pain point. Software solutions exist for business. Business doesn't exist for us. Sometimes in the software industry, I see that kind of an arrogance, that we think, oh, the business guys don't understand, the customers are idiots, all that kind of thing. Well, we need to understand we exist for them. Without that, there is no business really, right? So we need to understand that. Winning teams create their own agile process. Yes, these are all there. We have all the frameworks, everything, but these are like training wheels. How many of you have learned riding a tricycle or bicycle with the training wheels? Almost all of us. And after you learned it, how many of you went back and used the training wheels once again? I don't think anyone ever did that. So these frameworks are a good starting point. These are launch pad. You learn them and quickly throw them away. In fact, my yardstick for an agile team is that if I come to you and say, hey, we are doing agile, we are using this great framework, and I come after 6 months and you are still doing exactly as per the book, 100%, God only save you. Because you are not agile. You are following a process that somebody has put a stamp by saying, this is an agile process. But if you are not changing the process, then what is agility in that? You are improving, your understanding of the domain is improving, your understanding of the problem is, your team chemistry is getting better, you understand the customers better. So your process, why should that not reflect the increased state of capability, maturity and awareness? So if you still have the same process, something is wrong with you. It is not an agile process, it is a static process. Right? So we need to understand that. So winning teams, yes, a lot of people will continue to follow the same thing, but the best teams in the world will continue to challenge the process and continue to create updates on that. Machines and AI will overtake us, and as the economics and capabilities keep improving, they will continue to augment us. Now, there is a general belief in the AI industry that it will not replace human beings, but it will actually augment the capabilities of humans by taking over some of the tasks. For example, some of you might have seen that very famous video which is like the office disappeared, right? I think MIT made that, or Harvard made it. Like over a period of 15-20 years, how systematically everything that was in the office is now reduced to your laptop or a smartphone. It's a very enlightening video, very short one, have a look at it. And one size still doesn't fit all. So everyone has a different context. Somebody is working in some kind of digital world, somebody is working somewhere else. So obviously one size cannot fit the whole thing there, right? So to me, this is the context there. So now, what is the Agility Manifesto for the new digital world? What do you think it should be? I'm on the last slide here now, so I just want to wrap it up. Anyone has any thoughts on that? Based on what I shared, the thoughts? Initiating change over responding to change? Anyone else? I think there was somebody speaking from there. Okay. Okay. So in line with the theme of minimum viable agile, I have tried to keep it very simple. To me, there is only one way you can be agile in the new digital world, and that is do it yourself. Because the true meaning of being agile to me is all about creating your own agile process, right? You might lean on something, you might be standing on the shoulders of the giant, you might really inherit a lot of stuff there, but end of the day, everybody has a different context. The principles could be similar. They might appear to an untrained eye that, hey, this is the same thing, but you need to really do it at the end of the day. We all need to do it ourselves there, because that is to me the whole essence of really being agile in the first place. So I know I have really run out of time. I've been shown that 5 times, so sorry about that, guys, but if I will be here for a few more hours. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.